So most people in Western countries are taught from a very young age that they have to be happy. And the way that they're happy is through achievement, is through getting things and through money and being someone with things. So in our society, we are taught that achievement and getting things are happiness. And actually, from a psychological standpoint, this isn't talking about non-duality, but just talking about the working of the brain and the pleasure system. That is not the way to get maximum amount of pleasure. That's nothing to do with non-duality. I'm talking within the dream. Striving to get more isn't what will give you pleasure. In the long run, this will actually give you less pleasure. Because the brain will get addicted to the highs needed from attainment. So it will then always be on this attainment wheel of needing to get more and more, and each time it does, it will get less of a high. It will get less of a pleasure release. And it only lasts for a very short period of time. They say that people that win the lottery are happier for only 1 year, and then after that 1 year, most people become less happy than they were originally before. But in our society, winning the lottery is held as a great thing, and it will be the end to all of your problems. And I think that everyone believes that if they won the lottery and had more money, they would be more happy. But that's because we don't understand what happiness is. And we don't understand the setup, the body-mind mechanism. So in our body-mind mechanism, we have emotions and we have feelings, and all of them are on a pleasure-pain scale. And basically it's all chemical reactions happening, even the emotions. So there is an input, so something's touched or felt, and then there's a chemical release that gives a feeling of happiness, which is pleasure, or sadness, which is pain. And it always works on this scale. And they come in slightly different variations and different colours. And they're always fleeting. And it works with this pleasure-pain measurement, and these sensations and feelings and reactions work in relationship to other objects. So when Lisa drinks tea, there is a sensation of pleasure. When I have to pick up the dead dog poo and it's really smelly, there is a sensation of pain. In our society, we base happiness on the attainment of pleasure, and we think that happiness is the sensation of pleasure. It's the happiness or the joy that comes when we have a chemical reaction of pleasure. So with happiness, laughter, joy, elation, excitement, that all of that is happiness or is freedom. And that's the good side. And then the bad side, and what wants to be avoided, is sadness, depression, fear, anxiety, worry. And we live in this world where things, external objects, bring us pleasure, and external objects bring us pain. And we live in a society that's always trying to line up all the objects to bring us pleasure. So we think and we're taught that money is pleasure, friendship is pleasure, success is pleasure, obtaining things like nice cups. I think this is a really cute cup. It's like a fake takeaway cup. That looking pretty is pleasure, doing our nails is pleasure. And this pleasure is happiness. And a happy person and a happy life is somebody that has managed to get the most amount of pleasure possible. It's the way that all animals work. So at the moment I've just brought Khaleesi 2 companions. I just bought her 2 rabbits, and I bought Lisa 2 rabbits. So when I look at the rabbits and I look at Khaleesi, they're based on the same system. Their body is attracted towards pleasure and trying to avoid pain. And each body is very specifically lined up to have particular reactions to objects. So to the rabbits, pleasure is eating. They like their little dens. They like relaxing and running around in circles for some reason. If you put something in the middle of the room, they love to run around it and they kick their back legs out. And they like to snuggle in together. These are things that are pleasure. What is pain for them is if you move too quickly. So if I or something moves too quickly, then they have the fear, flight. I think it's painful for them to be picked up or not treated like a rabbit. So they like to be cuddled, but not to be pulled around. Loud noises, I think, is painful for them. A lack of food, they have to eat so much. For Khaleesi, she's more complicated. The rabbits are a little bit stupid. So she has more pain and pleasure things. To her, some dogs are very pleasurable, other dogs are very painful. For her, I think the rabbits are pleasurable, but I think when they move really quickly, it's painful for her. Because I think her instinct would be to kill it, but she's confused. So you can see her like, when they're moving too quickly, like her instinct is to chase it, but she knows she's not allowed to. For me, or for Lisa, pleasure is TV. Good TV though. I like well-written TV. Pleasure is being creative. Eating. Sex. Not all the time sex, but a lot of the time sex. Tea. Talking about non-duality. Pain for me is a lot of interactions with humans. I find social interactions half and half. I'm so sensitive to people that I can tell when they're not being honest, which is, in human case, 95% of the time, but they're not even aware of it. But as soon as somebody's not being honest, this body can feel it, and then I either confront it or I lie and agree, and neither of them are very pleasurable things to do. You confront it and the person's not aware that they're lying, so then you have to really go through it with them. Or you lie and it doesn't feel very good either, because then the body's saying something that it doesn't mean, which never feels good. But people aren't even aware of the lies that they're telling themselves. And the biggest lie there is that they exist. So you can imagine my interaction with humans isn't the most pleasurable thing. I also don't like being too cold or too hot. I don't like being really hungry. Don't like hurting myself, like falling off the bike. And on and on. I love the sunshine, the clouds, sensations of things. So this is what the bodies are set up to do, and it's really crazy that most humans don't know that that's how the body-mind mechanism functions. There is no personal part to it. These preferences are genetic and conditioned. A lot more are genetic than you would have thought. So it's a combination of genetics and conditioned. And that's it. That's how these body-mind mechanisms work. They get a bit more complicated because you also then have memories and stories and things that bring pleasure and pain and social interactions, but it's just based on that phenomenon, to pleasure or pain. And then what we have formed also in the human, or what forms in most humans at a very young age, is the sense that that functioning is you. Those reactions are you. And that pleasure is your happiness and what you should have, and pain is your unhappiness. But actually, all the suffering doesn't come from the movement between pain and pleasure. And science even says that. I mean, if you win the statistics of happiness, that people that win the lottery, it barely makes any difference. Only for 1 year it makes a difference, and then after that it mostly makes people more unhappy. So what actually is the suffering of the human is this energy which claims that to be you. If that separation isn't there, everything is 100% complete. The movement between the pain and the pleasure. Everything. You could be bankrupt and being put into prison. There's total completion. But it's not your completion. It's nothing to do with you, because there's never been a you there. There is chemical reactions happening. There is life happening, but for no one. We get so complicated as a human though. And the conscious mind sews together all these reactions and sensations and feelings and memories and ideas and puts it into stories about yourself. And then the human is constantly trying to convince the world that is who it is. And it always feels slightly on the run, uncomfortable, because as soon as the separation has happened, there's always a sense that you've lost it. You've been kicked out of something. There's a sense of discomfort that always is there, this agitation that something needs fixing. And it's so confusing because these pain reactions get so complicated. You feel jealous, the sensation of jealousy comes up, and then the story comes, they're bad people, I don't like them. And that's what the story tells. So there's a sensation of jealousy, but that is not in the conscious mind. What's in the conscious mind is they are bad people, I don't like them. And then when you're around those people, all you want to do is put them down and hurt them. And if they say to you, you're jealous, how dare you, I'm not jealous, I hate you. It becomes such a complicated affair, and that's just a really simplistic game that's being talked about. And the human, the separate self, is always lying to itself. It's always in a state of denial of what it is. And this hurts, it creates pain. It creates a sensation of pain. Because rather than just being expression happening, it's like this expression goes through something tight and small, something that contains it. Something that's always trying to present itself in a certain way. It's so greedy, the sense of self. Taking in, taking in, taking in. Always wanting to be better than others, better than what it is, better than the house, better than the partner they have. Nobody's really content with what they have. I don't know anyone that's content outside of me and Paul, but anyone that has what they want. And I meet all sorts of people. I meet billionaires, famous actors, poor people, desperately poor people, homeless people. And none of them have what they want. They always feel like there's something that they did wrong, and they repeat. It's the partner. It's this decision. It's that decision. And they'll never find it. They'll never find it in any of the spiritual words of follow your heart. or be true to yourself. You'll never find it in any of the objects that you buy. All of that is fleeting. Everything. You'll never find it in any understanding, in any cup of tea. It's not in the tea. Or Khaleesi, or the bunnies. Nothing. And this has to be really seen, not by anybody. It's not nobody, it's not somebody seeing. But this can't be learnt. The person always thinks and will always believe it's in something else. It's in growth, it's in pleasure. It will always believe it's in the next thing. If my partner was better, if Lisa spoke more clearly, if I won the lottery, if I paid off my mortgage, if I find a group of friends, if I find a partner, if I have enough sex. And I'm not saying don't do all of this. In a way, it's got to be done to see it's not it. It's got to be tried. But maybe not, it doesn't have to be anyway. But this character went and tried. This character's obsession was peace in the world. I was trying to save the animals mostly. And I did it. I went and laid outside, what do you call it, like testing units, laboratories. I went on protests. I went and worked in a war zone. I got held up by gunpoint. I laid in front of bulldozers in the West Bank. I choked on tear gas again and again and again. If you've ever protested, you'll know what that's like. I laid behind cars as bullets went over them. And I saw they can never be found in peace in the world. I realised it was so beautiful, but this is all to do with the person. I realised that you couldn't make people be peaceful. And when they believed they were someone, in a way they were always at war. I realised when I was in the West Bank, Jesus, this can be politically taken so badly, that if you gave the Palestinians the power, the same thing would happen again, just like the Holocaust and now what Israelis were doing to the Palestinians. The Israelis had been through a terrible incident, and so they became the perpetrator. And the same would happen if you gave the Palestinians the power. Not that I'm saying you should or shouldn't in either case. I was gobsmacked at how complicated it was. But the mentality of the human when it's separate, is always to be greedy. And it's always, in a way, prone to hate, because it always feels incomplete. And it always believes it's the other's fault, or my fault. It's not that it's happening, and it's nobody's fault. It's always mine or their fault. There's always war there. Nothing can ever be found in the world. It fleets, it moves. And it's everything. It's all opposites. It's heaven and hell. It's beauty and ugliness. And as soon as you found the greatest pleasure there is, like say you became the CEO of the company you'd always wanted, it will change again. You'll want something else, or that won't be enough anymore, or you'll feel bored that you've achieved it. There will be a different sensation that comes. You will never get there. Maybe you just keep dreaming that when you pay your mortgage off, or if you manage to give up your job and go to Thailand, or if you are more courageous. But it can't be got in the world. There's nothing here, it's an empty world. I don't mean empty in a negative way, I mean that it's all full of nothing. It's like a magic trick, and the humans are so hypnotized by it. You think, so say just use this as money. You think if you get it, this will give you something, but you can't. You can't penetrate it in the physical form. It can't do anything for you. Even if you pay off your mortgage and you're debt-free, what difference does it make right here? You think it will stop the craziness or the discomfort, but it won't. The person will fixate on another problem. You can't get it. You cannot get it. Everything changes. Look. Everything changes. Constantly. There is nothing that you can get. And that is where God lies. Is where it lies. That is the freedom. There is nothing that you can get. And because everything changes, there is no solid you. There is no you versus the world. Everything is changing. The constant is. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'm out of tea already. You won't ever get there. You ever think that, if your boyfriend changed or if your life situation changed, if you didn't do this or didn't do that, that you would get there, but you won't. You'll never get there. When it's really seen, there's never been anything else than this. And there's never been anywhere to get to. The human is so fooled by the chemicals. There's not even someone there that's fooled, actually. Just the game that's happening in the human is these chemicals and then these feelings and pleasure and pain, and then something says, that's me. And I need to be happy. And why aren't I happy? And I need to choose correctly. How could someone ever choose? If everything is changing constantly, how could there be a fixed you that chooses? There is nothing that can choose. There is simply everything, and there lies heaven. And this is happening, this is moving, and it's not moving. And it's all coming from no place. It's not coming from the past. It's so empty, so free. Okay, we take the questions.